It was a busy Monday morning at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. The lines were long, tension was thick, and TSA officers were moving at a hurried but routine pace. Among the passengers slowly making their way through security was a well-dressed black woman in her mid-30s, wearing a sleek navy blue pantsuit, heels that clicked with precision on the floor, and a calm expression that didn't quite hide the edge of wariness behind her eyes. Asterisk. Her name was Dr. Alexandria Monroe. Asterisk, as she stepped forward with her boarding pass and passport in hand. She greeted the TSA agent stationed at the checkpoint. With a polite nod, the agent, a younger white man named Officer Collins, barely glanced at her documents before giving her a once-over. His eyes lingered, a flicker of suspicion or bias crossing his face. Asterisk, random screening, said flatly, pointing her toward the secondary inspection area. Asterisk, Dr. Monroe blinked. Is there an issue with my documentation? Asterisk, no ma'am, he replied tone sharp. Just procedure. Asterisk, though she had flown countless times. More than 150 domestic and international flights in the last 5 years, this wasn't the first time she had been pulled aside without explanation. She sighed inwardly and followed the officer without a word. But something in Colin's demeanor felt different this time, less about safety and more about superiority. She had seen that look before. She knew it too well. Asterisk in the glassed-off inspection area. Dr. Monroe was told to remove her jacket and shoes, then subjected to a full-body pat-down. Her suitcase was opened and rifled through with no care. Her items pulled out and placed on the table like evidence in a crime scene. A female TSA agent asked curt questions, barely listening to the answers. Asterisk, where are you going? Asterisk, Chicago. Asterisk, business or pleasure? Asterisk, business. Asterisk, what do you do? I'm a scientist, she answered, keeping her voice level. A scientist, the woman repeated, almost mockingly, before turning to her colleague. Right. Dr. Monroe chose not to respond. As she stood there silently, holding on to her calm with effort, a cluster of other travelers were waved through with minimal screening. Several were white men in suits, carrying briefcases and laptops. None of them stopped, none of them questioned. She noticed the pattern and bit the inside of her cheek. Asterisk, but then something shifted. Asterisk, out of the corner of her eye, she saw another TSA officer walking briskly toward them. A woman in her 40s, African-American, with a name tag that read Supervisor Jenkins. Her posture was authoritative, and her eyes were sharp as they scanned the scene in front of her. Asterisk, what's going on here? She asked coolly, her gaze landing on Collins. Just routine secondary, Collins muttered. And what prompted the secondary? Asterisk, Collins opened his mouth, then hesitated. It was a random flag. Asterisk, Jenkins turned to Dr. Monroe. Ma'am, may I see your ID? Asterisk, Dr. Monroe handed over her passport again. Jenkins looked at it. Then she did a double take, her eyes widening slightly as recognition dawned. Asterisk, you're Dr. Alexandria Monroe? She asked, her voice shifting. From formal to stunned respect. Asterisk, yes, Dr. Monroe replied, her tone calm but clipped. Is there a problem? Asterisk, no, ma'am. Not at all. Ain't. Jenkins turned back to the younger agents. What, do you have any idea who you're detaining? Lung shook his head, looking confused. Jenkins inhaled slowly. Dr. Monroe is the lead aerospace engineer for the National Defense Innovation Task Force. She's a nationally recognized physicist. She's literally responsible for the secure guidance systems on the jets our Air Force flies. She just presented at the NATO Defense Summit in Brussels 2 days ago. Asterisk, the room fell into silence. The female TSA agent visibly stiffened. Collins' face turned a shade paler. Asterisk, I've seen her on CNN, Jenkins continued. She's also on the board of the U.S. Department of Transportation and holds 2 patents for integrated aviation systems. What in the world made you think she needed to be pulled aside for a pat-down? Asterisk, I didn't know, Collins stammered. She looks suspicious. Asterisk, Dr. Monroe let out a low, bitter chuckle. Suspicious or just not. What you expected a defense scientist to look like. Asterisk Jenkins shot her an apologetic look. I'm so sorry, Dr. Monroe. This was uncalled for. You should have been flagged for priority processing, not humiliated like this. Asterisk Collins opened his mouth again, but Jenkins cut him off. You need to go speak with the shift commander now. I'll take care of this. Asterisk. Collins retreated. Quickly, shoulders hunched. Asterisk turning back. Jenkins took Dr. Monroe's suitcase and carefully repacked it, her hands gentle and deliberate. Please accept my apology. I promise this will be addressed immediately. Asterisk Dr. Monroe sighed, slipping her jacket back on. It's not your fault. This isn't the first time, and it likely won't be the last. Asterisk it should be, Jenkins said fiercely. Shouldn't have to keep proving yourself every time you travel. Asterisk no, Dr. Monroe agreed. But here we are. Asterisk Jenkins escorted her personally through the remainder of security, past the long lines and curious stares. When they reached the concourse, she hesitated. Asterisk, thank you for stepping in, Dr. Monroe said quietly. Asterisk Jenkins gave a solemn nod. We have to look out for each other. People need to understand that brilliance, strength, and patriotism don't come in one color or one gender. Asterisk Dr. Monroe smiled faintly. Amen to that. Asterisk. As she walked away, rolling her suitcase. Toward the terminal, her mind whirled not with anger, but with resolve. She thought of the countless young black girls who watched her TED Talks, read about her in Scientific American, or saw her on the news. She carried the burden and the responsibility of visibility. She couldn't afford to shrink, but she also couldn't afford to be silent. Later that evening, Dr. Monroe made a call to a colleague in the Department of Homeland Security. She shared what had happened not out of vengeance, but to spark change. And a week later, a new internal training initiative was launched across all TSA branches focused on bias recognition and professional conduct. Asterisk, her story didn't just end with embarrassment. It began a conversation. Asterisk, it was discussed on talk shows and academic panels. The assumptions we carry through airports became a trending topic. A think piece published by The Atlantic asked, would Dr. Monroe have been flagged if she were white? And as uncomfortable as the answers were, the questions couldn't be ignored anymore. Asterisk Dr. Monroe kept flying, kept innovating, kept breaking barriers. And now more people knew her name, not because of the screening, but because of what she did afterward. Asterisk, she turned a moment of prejudice into a milestone of progress, and that's exactly what brilliance does.